Welcome to the Playing Books podcast. Today, we are immersing ourselves in the absolute limits of pretty much everything. Human capability, the natural world, technology, and we're doing it using a really special source as our guide. This book, Guinness World Records 2025 by Guinness World Records.
And it is special. It's the 70th anniversary edition of this cultural institution, really.
Yeah.
And what makes it so perfect for what we do here is that it reframes the entire world through a very specific lens, the Ests, as they call it.
Yeah, the S.
The longest, the highest, the strongest, the smallest. You know, it's not just a random collection of facts. It's an exploration into the whole philosophy of what it means to be superlative.
Right. When we define a record, what we're really doing is we're defining perfection, aren't we? Or at the very least, we're drawing a line in the sand for the current boundary of what's possible.
Exactly. And that's the connection we really want to draw out for you in this episode.
Because it's so easy to look at a record, the fastest person on the planet or something, and just think, well, that's incredible, but it has nothing to do with me.
It's unrelatable.
Totally. But the mechanics underneath that achievement, the systems, the dedication, the way they assess risk, the pacing, those are universal skills.
Absolutely. They're skills that we can all extract and then apply in our own lives, whether you're, training for a 5K or launching a huge project at work.
Precisely. The pursuit of that peak, that superlative, whether it's physical or intellectual, it just gives you this unique window into how high performance actually works.
The systems these record breakers use, how they manage their resources, how they learn from failure, how they scale their preparation, it's often the exact same blueprint you need for success in any field.
So with that in mind, let's start this with a bit of a challenge for you, for everyone listening.
Okay.
Try to find your own superlative goal. What's your personal est? It's probably not going to be the fastest land speed record.
Probably not.
But maybe it's the most efficiently managed, most error-free project you have ever delivered. Or maybe it's the most consistent you've ever been with a new habit.
Or the oldest person in your family to master a new language or a new instrument. It's that framing, that mental shift from just what's possible to what is your peak. That's what this book really inspires.
Okay, so to guide us through this incredible book, we've broken this episode into three main parts. First up, we're going to cover the ultimate human endeavor. We're talking extremes of endurance, incredible skill, and how people manage monumental risk.
Then we'll shift into culture and scale and value. So how do we quantify perfection in the arts, in media, and even in economics?
And finally, we're going to zoom all the way out. We'll look at records from the natural world, from dinosaurs to fungi, and right to the cutting edge of science, like AI and physics.
It's a huge canvas. It's really a look at the known limits of, our entire universe.
It is. So let's start with human limits. When we talk about human endeavor, the first place my mind goes is always the ultra-endurance athlete. This book details feats that just completely redefine what the human body is capable of. And it always shows us that the real battle, it's never the body, it's always the mind.
It truly is. It's a marathon of the mind that just happens to involve the body. And the Spartathlon ultra race, that might be the purest example of that struggle.
Tell us about it. It's got a historical root, Rip.
It does. It's this punishing 246-kilometer route through Greece. That's about 153 miles. And it traces the legendary path of Pheidippides.
The original marathon route.
The original, yeah. The Athenian messenger who ran from Athens to Sparta back in 490 BCE, trying to get help before the Battle of Marathon. The course is it's brutal. It's over roads, up mountains, through olive groves.
And the modern record, which the book details, it's frankly unbelievable.
It's insane. Fotis Sissimopoulos, a Greek police officer, he didn't just win his third race in a row in 2023.
No.
He absolutely shattered a record that had stood since 1984. He finished in 19 hours, 55 minutes, and 9 seconds.
19 hours to run 246 kilometers.
Yeah. And to really get the weight of that, you have to know who set the old record. It was the legendary Yannis Kouros.
The running god.
The running god, exactly. He's often called the greatest endurance runner in history. His time was 20 hours and 25 minutes.
So Sissimopoulos knocked half an hour off a record set by the undisputed GOAT, a record that had stood for 40 years.
Yes, that is the definition of peak human athletic performance in a single discipline. It's just staggering.
And if that's not hustle enough, then you have to look at the Badwater Ultramarathon.
Oh, Badwater is a different beast entirely.
It starts in Death Valley, right?
In Death Valley, the lowest point in the contiguous U.S., and it climbs to the trailhead at Mount Whitney, the highest point. It's 217 kilometers, or 135 miles, crossing 3 mountain ranges.
And the temperatures?
The temperatures are the real opponent. On the valley floor, it can reach 53 degrees Celsius. That's 127 degrees Fahrenheit. The race is designed, on paper, to be physically impossible.
And yet,
Ashley Paulson set the women's record in 2023. 21 hours, 44 minutes, 35 seconds. But what's really fascinating about Badwater is the system behind it. You cannot do it alone. It's forbidden.
You need a crew.
You need a dedicated crew managing your hydration, your cooling, your nutrition constantly, just to stop your organs from shutting down in that heat. It's a systems record as much as it is a personal one.
Okay, so let's translate this. Let's turn this extreme effort into something practical for someone listening who is, let's be honest, probably not running through Death Valley this weekend.
Right.
The lesson isn't just be tough. It's more nuanced than that. It's about resilience as a process. So what can we really learn about sustained focus from these athletes?
I think it's the ability to execute what you could call a mental override.
A mental override. I like that.
Yeah. Ultra athletes, they all talk about hitting the wall, that point where your body is just screaming, every cell is telling you to stop.
Right.
They train their minds to process that pain, the heat, the boredom as just as data points. They're not reasons to quit, they're just signals that require a small, manageable adjustment.
Like, I need a sip of water, not I need to stop running.
Exactly. Or I need to change my pace for 5 minutes, or I need to think about something else. It's about breaking an overwhelming task, that 246 kilometers, into tiny, manageable chunks.
So you don't think about the finish line. You just focus on the next checkpoint, the next mile, even just the next 10 minutes.
That's the only way. And the application for our professional lives is so clear. You're facing a huge, daunting, years-long project. Don't look at the final goal. You'll get paralyzed. Just look at what you need to do in the next 2 hours and execute that perfectly. That's how you beat mental exhaustion.
Speaking of defying limits, one of the most compelling parts of this book for me was the section on age.
Oh, yeah.
It completely dismantles the idea that our drive to set ambitious goals just evaporates when we hit a certain age.
It really does. And the stories are so genuinely inspirational. They're not just about staying active. They require real physical agility and, frankly, just sheer nerve.
Like Ruth Linnea Ingegerd Larsen.
An amazing story. She became the oldest person to do a tandem parachute jump.
At what age?
At 103 years and 259 days old.
Wow.
And think about her life trajectory here. She wasn't some lifelong daredevil. She discovered this thrill for high-risk activities late in life. She went paragliding for the first time on her 90th birthday.
So from first time at 90 to world record at 103. That's incredible. It's proof that our capacity for adventure can be maintained.
Absolutely. And then you have John Simmons. He performed wing walking at 95.
Wing walking, so standing on the wing of a biplane while it's flying.
Exactly. Subject to high winds, G-forces. And he wasn't just doing it for a thrill. He did it to raise money for a local hospice. That requires phenomenal core strength, balance, and just a complete refusal to be afraid.
And Leslie Harris, the motorcycle racer.
Still competing at 97 years old, she races in the Classic Motorcycle Festival in New Zealand, often against riders who are decades younger than her.
So if we connect this back to the listener, the bigger picture here is the value of maintaining curiosity and setting new, ambitious, and specifically novel goals. We're not just talking about going for a walk. We're talking about introducing high-stakes challenges into your life.
Right. And the science backs this up. Studies show that continually engaging in novelty and complex learning, like mastering a new physical skill or a new language, it helps maintain cognitive function and neuroplasticity way longer than just passively aging.
The lesson seems to be, treat your life like a series of increasingly interesting projects.
Yes. Never stop looking for that next challenge, because the pursuit of a new boundary is what keeps the mind sharp and the spirit engaged.
All right, let's shift gears completely now. We're moving from human endurance to pure mechanical velocity.
And the astronomical cost of failure when your preparation isn't perfect.
We're talking high-stakes speed records, land and water.
Yeah, and the land speed record era, the 1960s, was just, it was basically an arms race. It was driven by pure ego and just pushing the technological frontier.
And Craig Breedlove is the central figure.
Absolutely. In 1965, he did something no one had ever done. He became the first person to exceed 600 miles per hour in a four-wheeled automobile.
At the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Right. He clocked 600.601 miles per hour in the Spirit of America's Sonic NS.
And to give that some context, 600 miles per hour is nearly the speed of sound at sea level. He was doing that on wheels.
Well, sort of. And the power source is the crucial detail here. It wasn't a car engine. It was a General Electric J79 jet engine.
The same engine from an F-4 Phantom fighter jet.
The very same. It gave him 15,000 horsepower, but it was thrust. It was basically a horizontal fighter jet pushing a car. The technical challenge wasn't just speed. It was keeping this thing stable on salt, the slightest mistake, and you're just gone.
And this is all happening within this fierce, incredibly dangerous rivalry he had with Art Arfons.
Oh, yeah. They traded the record back and forth 7 times in just a few years. It just highlights the immense cost of speed.
And the risk. The book points this out. Just months after Breedlove's 600-mile-per-hour run, Arfons crashed his car, the Green Monster.
At an estimated 610 miles per hour. He survived, miraculously, but the vehicle was completely destroyed.
And Breedlove himself had a massive crash later on at over 675 miles per hour.
Right. The only reason these men walked away from those kinds of accidents was because of rigorous, even if sometimes flawed, preparation.
Now, moving from land to water, the record for the fastest submarine is actually much older, right?
It is. It's historic. It was set way back in 1955 by the U.S. Navy's Nautilus. And this wasn't just a speed record. It was a total technological breakthrough.
Because it was nuclear-powered.
It was the first atomic-powered vessel ever built. That nuclear reactor meant it could stay underwater at high speed indefinitely. It didn't need to surface to recharge batteries or run diesel engines.
And it changed everything.
Overnight. It made the first atomic-powered ocean voyage 1,200 nautical miles in just 90 hours, a capability that was just unheard of. It fundamentally changed naval strategy forever.
So in the face of all these extremes, the jet car, the nuclear stuff, the book includes this really powerful piece of advice from an adventurer.
I love this quote.
It says, "Only do something that you're 100% sure you can complete safely without endangering the lives of anyone else or expecting them to come and rescue you."
And that just drives home the ultimate practical lesson here. Rigorous risk assessment.
Right.
And the application for the listener isn't just about physical safety. It's about preparedness for any high-pressure task. A big career move, a large investment, a complex technical project.
You need to do the self-assessment and the training so rigorously that it almost guarantees success. You mitigate the margin for error down to as close to zero as you can possibly get.
Because at that superlative level, you're right, hope is not a strategy.
Only preparation is.
Okay, let's move from the physical realm of risk and endurance to the creative. Let's look at the pursuit of perfection in art and film. Because here, the edists aren't about kilometers per hour or tons of weight. They're about dedication, attention to detail, and, well, quite often, sheer expense or just operational chaos.
I find the Hollywood stories in the book so useful because they show these two completely different paths to achievement. On one hand, you have legendary perfectionism.
And on the other, you have overwhelming scale and chaos.
Let's start with pure, unadulterated dedication. Charlie Chaplin.
The master. He was, by all accounts, infamously demanding. And for his 1931 masterpiece, City Lights, there's a crucial, very short scene.
The one where the blind flower girl mistakes his tramp character for a rich man?
Exactly. That's the one. That scene, which lasts for just 3 minutes in the final movie, was reshot an astonishing 342 times.
342 times.
Over a 2-year production period. Just think about the cost. The psychological toll on the actors, the sheer self-belief you'd need to demand that level of repetition for a single 3-minute payoff.
It's a level of dedication that today would be seen as just financially insane.
Completely. It shows that for Chaplin, perfection meant finding the one single absolutely correct moment. And he didn't care how much time or money it took to find it.
Now let's contrast that with films known for the exact opposite. Production chaos.
Right. The book points to Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now as holding the record for the most continuity errors.
How many?
456 visible mistakes logged on the Movie Mistakes website. And we're not talking about subtle things.
No.
We're talking a character's injuries appearing and then disappearing between shots, props, swapping hands, and in one scene, the same village hut gets blown up twice in completely different ways.
Which is a product of that chaotic location shoot.
Yeah.
And that chaos comes up again with the record for the most visible equipment or crew errors.
Yeah, that one's a tie between two huge action films, Speed and the first Pirates of the Caribbean.
Both with 43 errors.
Right. And it makes sense. Both films required shooting complex, fast-moving action in really difficult confined sets, a speeding bus and a ship's deck.
So the crews are working fast, they're close to the action.
And you just end up seeing things you're not supposed to see. Boom mics dipping into the frame, ladders, lights, even crew members in T-shirts just for a split second.
So the lesson is that great art can come from either this monastic dedication, like Chaplin, or from sheer, overwhelming operational scale.
Which, despite all the errors, still delivers a classic, like, Apocalypse Now. The outcome is what matters, but the path to it can be total chaos.
Let's talk about a different kind of perfection, mastery of design and scale, especially in costume design.
You have to talk about the late, great Edith Head. She is a giant in this field.
Her records are they're untouchable. Most Oscar nominations and wins for a female designer.
35 nominations and 8 wins. Her career spanned from 1925 to 1982. She worked on an incredible 432 Hollywood productions.
432.
And her consistency is the key. She defined the look of Hollywood glamour for multiple generations. She dressed everyone from Mae West and Grace Kelly to Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
And she's the inspiration for Edna Mode in The Incredibles, right?
It's widely reported that her iconic look, the signature glasses, the neat hairdo, was the direct inspiration.
But not all her designs were practical. The book mentions the heaviest movie costume record.
Oh, this is incredible. She designed this monstrous dress for Ginger Rogers in the 1944 film Lady in the Dark. It weighed 110 pounds.
Wait, 49.9 kilograms.
Yeah.
The dress itself.
The dress itself. It had a steel frame crinoline, 10 petticoats, and 500 yards of hand-embroidered silk satin. Ginger Rogers was literally wearing her own body weight as a costume.
I can't even imagine. And then you have the sheer volume of production.
Yeah.
The epic film Quo Vadis.
1951, it set the record for scale. They used 32,000 costumes.
For 30,000 extras.
And that included 15,000 hand-sewn sandals and 12,000 pieces of custom jewelry.
But what's really amazing is what happened to all that stuff.
Right. It didn't just disappear. Most of those 15,000 outfits went into MGM's costume warehouse and were just reused for decades in other movies set in the ancient world. They stretched the value of that initial investment across dozens of other films.
The modern expenses, though, are less about volume and more about just pure material cost.
For sure. Sex and the City 2 reportedly spent a staggering $10 million on designer wardrobes.
$10 million.
Yeah. The character Carrie Bradshaw alone had 41 costume changes, with one single outfit costing around $230,000. It turns the budget itself into a superlative.
So if we look back at Edith Head's 432 films, what's the professional lesson for the listener? It's not just consistency, is it?
No, I think it's adaptability. Head worked across nearly 6 decades. She constantly adapted her style to new film technologies, new cultural trends, new aesthetics, long-term sustained quality and adaptability. That's the most durable kind of superlative achievement.
Okay, now let's talk about value, opulence, and scarcity. This is where art, economics, and just sheer glitter all intersect in the book's records.
Right, and the value of high-end art, it often has nothing to do with utility. It's about pure symbolic power. Damien Hirst's Jeweled Skull, For the Love of God, from 2007. It's the ultimate example.
The raw materials alone were, what, 12 million pounds?
12 million pounds, yeah. About $23.7 million, just for the materials.
And the details are just extravagant. That's a platinum cast of a human skull.
Set with 8,601 ethically sourced, flawless diamonds. And it was originally displayed with a price tag of nearly $100 million.
And Hearst called it a memento mori.
A reminder of death. Which is fascinating, right? He uses maximum material opulence to confront the ultimate scarcity, our own finite lives. The value isn't in what the object does, it's in the massive conceptual conflict it represents.
And that theme's scarcity and material driving value, it comes up even more clearly with the record for the most expensive bottle of tequila.
Oh, this one is great. It sold in 2006 for $225,000, but you have to look at the breakdown, the actual tequila inside.
It was valued at just $2,500.
Right, so an astonishing 98.8% of the price was for the bottle. It was crusted with 5 pounds of platinum and 4,100 white diamonds. The liquid is completely secondary to the status of the packaging.
From objects of extreme value, we pivot dramatically to economic extremes, specifically the terrifying record of hyperinflation in post-World War II Hungary.
This is such a vital historical record. It's about value destruction, not creation. The highest denomination banknote ever printed was the Hungarian million billion penga note.
In 1946, and the context is everything.
It is. Post-war Hungary was destroyed. 40% of its national assets were gone. It was saddled with huge war reparations. the economy just collapsed.
And the resulting hyperinflation was so severe that in July 1946, the daily inflation rate was 207%.
Let that sink in. Prices were doubling every 15 hours.
Every 15 hours. So that million billion penga note was functionally worthless almost as soon as it was printed.
It's the total breakdown of societal trust in currency. The government eventually had to introduce a new currency, the forint, at an exchange rate that, well, one forint was worth 400 octillion penga, a 4 followed by 29 zeros.
An irreplaceable lesson in economic collapse. On a lighter note, for large economic symbols, there's the largest replica coin.
The big nickel. In Sudbury, Canada, it's 9.1 meters wide, a replica of a 1951 Canadian 5-cent piece built to celebrate the local mining heritage.
So the practical lesson from the hyperinflation in the jeweled skull seems simple, but it's crucial.
Value is driven by scarcity, material context, and above all, trust. It's rarely driven by pure utility. And understanding that separation is key, whether you're looking at the art market, branding, or economic policy.
Let's move into the digital era now. Let's talk about mass audience and the sheer scale of modern media.
The audience numbers for the biggest entertainment records are they're staggering. They represent a level of cultural penetration that's almost unprecedented.
Take gaming. Minecraft. Simple, blocky design, but it's become this cultural monolith. It surpassed 300 million copies sold.
And then the military franchise Call of Duty has sold over 400 million copies since 2003.
Those numbers. It's a scale of collective attention that very few products in history have ever managed.
But what's interesting is that sometimes simple, brilliant design wins out over huge graphical budgets. And that's the story of Tetris.
The ultimate classic.
Tetris came out in 1985. It became the world's biggest-selling puzzle video game, about 520 million units. But this is the most important detail. It's the most ported video game ever. It's appeared on at least 70 different platforms.
Because its simple design is so elegant, it can run on anything.
Exactly. It's timeless. That scale of influence now, of course, extends to social platforms where reach itself is a record. The book notes Elon Musk holding the record for the most followers on X.
Over 173 million.
But what's really revealing is the acceleration. More than 40% of those followers came after he bought the platform in late 2022. He posts constantly, often stirring up controversy. It proves that in that domain, high-frequency, high-engagement posting is the fastest way to record-breaking reach.
And on the creative side of digital, you have the rise of the high-budget content creator. You have Mr. Beast.
Jimmy Donaldson, yeah. His success is built not just on novelty, but on a massive, almost corporate level of investment and spectacle.
His Squid Game in real life video is the perfect example.
It is. He spent more than $3 million on production costs alone, meticulously building sets that mirrored the Netflix show, flying in 456 players. This level of production quality for a YouTube video is now the superlative standard for getting hundreds of millions of views.
And yet, he uses that scale for good as well. He leverages it.
He does. When he hit 20 million subscribers, he launched #TeamTrees, partnering with the Arbor Day Foundation. The goal was to plant 20 million trees.
And they did it.
They did, and that led to #TeamSeas, where every dollar pledged meant a pound of trash was removed from the ocean. He's actively using his record-breaking platform to drive quantifiable environmental action. It's not just entertainment, it's mobilization.
So this brings us to our active participation challenge for you, the listener. Inspired by that Mr. Beast model, high investment, high impact, how can you leverage your own platforms, your own expertise for a superlative good? What's the maximum positive, measurable impact you could create with the resources you have right now? All right, let's turn our attention now to the sheer scale and complexity of the natural world, starting with the bizarre and beautiful extremes of biology.
Yeah, the dimensions of life on Earth, both past and present, they offer some of the most striking records. They just remind us of the vast scope of evolution.
Starting big, very big, the longest neck on a dinosaur?
Mamenchosaurus sinocanidorum, a massive herbivore from about 162 million years ago. Its neck was estimated to be 15.1 meters long.
15 meters, that's 49.5 feet.
It's 6 times longer than the neck of a modern male giraffe. And the mechanical wonder of it is the key detail.
Right.
Most mammals, us included, giraffes included, we have 7 cervical vertebrae, 7 neck bones. Mamenchosaurus had 76, each one engineered to be strong but lightweight, allowing this colossal neck to support itself and reach the highest treetops. It's a true anatomical superlative.
And we can swing to the absolute opposite end of the scale, the smallest reptile.
Madagascar's Brachysia dwarf chameleon. It measures just 21.9 millimeters long, tail included. It's small enough to sit comfortably on the tip of a matchstick.
And then you jump from that to the largest lizard, the Komodo dragon.
Where males can weigh up to 166 kilograms, 366 pounds, capable of taking down huge prey. The range is just immense.
And then you have longevity, measured not in years or decades, but in centuries.
Jonathan the tortoise, a Seychelles giant tortoise living on the island of St. Helena. He was born around 1832.
1830.
As of 2024, he was at least 192 years old. He's lived through 2 world wars, the invention of the telephone, the internet, and the reigns of 7 British monarchs.
That's just a mind-boggling amount of time. And in the plant kingdom, cacti hold some incredible records.
Not just for hardiness, but for scale and endurance. The saguaro cactus, the symbol of the American West, can live for about 300 years. It's a symbol of sustained, slow-motion growth.
And you get the size extremes there, too.
You do. The tiny, button-like Blasfeldia lilliputana is the smallest cactus species. It measures as little as 10 millimeters in diameter when it's fully mature.
And this section of the book also introduces the work of Giuliana Furci.
Yes, the founder of the Fungi Foundation. And this is so important because it highlights how overlooked this entire kingdom of life has been. Fungi were only classified as their own separate kingdom in 1969.
Or were they before that?
They were just lumped in with plants, despite being completely different biologically.
And Furci's work emphasizes the urgent need to understand these underground fungal communities.
They're not just decomposers, they are massive carbon sinks. These vast underground networks, mycorrhizal networks, are critical in storing carbon. They're pivotal in the fight against climate change, and we're only just beginning to understand their role.
And the practical applications are amazing.
They're so surprising. Fungi are being used to replace plastic packaging. You can grow it into solid, custom shapes that biodegrade incredibly quickly. And fungal leather, or myco-leather, is a modern version of a practice that's hundreds of years old.
It's a reminder that decomposition through fungi is actually the beginning of new, useful life.
Exactly.
Okay, let's pivot sharply again to modern science and cutting-edge tech. The records here aren't being set by physical size, but by speed, power, and computational might.
And we are constantly pushing the limits of speed in data transmission. NASA's T-Baird transmitter set the fastest satellite data link record in April 2023.
TBRD, what does that stand for?
Terabyte infrared delivery. This transmitter is about the size of a tissue box, and it used a laser to send 4.8 terabytes of data in under 5 minutes.
4.8 terabytes.
In 5 minutes. To put that in perspective, that's about 1,000 times faster than the standard radio connections that satellites use today. It's not a small improvement, it's an exponential leap.
Yep.
It will fundamentally change space exploration.
And equally impressive is the sheer power of instruments like the X-ray laser at Stanford.
The LCLS-2, the LINAC Coherent Light Source 2. It's the world's most powerful X-ray laser. Its record isn't about data, it's about energy and flash rate. It can produce 1 million X-ray flashes per second.
1 million per second. And why do you need that speed?
To see things that happen incredibly fast. To examine fleeting chemical reactions. Imagine the implications for medicine or for developing cleaner energy if you can literally watch chemical bonds forming and breaking in real time at the atomic level. It's like having a molecular movie camera.
And the pursuit of sustainability is also breaking vital records. The book highlights plastic solar cells.
Yes, the efficiency record was set in 2023 by a team at Hong Kong Polytechnic University. They achieved 19.31% efficiency.
And why does that matter so much?
Because plastic or organic solar cells are much lighter and cheaper to make than traditional silicon ones. And crucially, they can be semi-transparent.
So you could have electricity generating windows.
Exactly. Tinted windows in skyscrapers or cars that are also power generators. It turns passive surfaces into active ones. It's an incredibly elegant solution for urban energy.
And finally, the record that everyone is talking about. Artificial intelligence. The cognitive performance of large language models like GPT-4 is now officially superlative in certain human domains.
The numbers are remarkable. GPT-4 scored 298 out of 400 on the U.S. Uniform Bar Exam.
The bar exam. The test to become a lawyer.
Yes. That score places it ahead of 90% of the humans who took the test. It also scored 4,410 out of 1,600 on the SAT.
This just raises a profound and necessary question for all of us. When an AI can pass the bar exam better than most human candidates, what does that mean for human skill development?
It fundamentally devalues certain skills like rote memorization and just simple rule application.
Right.
The skills that become paramount are the ones that are still uniquely human. Adaptive learning, critical synthesis, creative problem solving, emotional intelligence. The lesson is we have to adapt our own training to focus on what the machine can't do yet.
And this transition from the natural world to the ultra-precise world of engineering leads us perfectly into the records of measurement and speed.
In racing, the margins are just minuscule. Alex Palou's pole position run at the Indy 500 in 2023, he averaged 234.217 mile per hour over 4 laps. We're talking hundredths of a second defining history.
And then there's the sheer longevity of that kind of precision. The book notes Kyle Busch's record of 230 NASCAR race wins.
Across 3 national series, that's not a single flash of speed. That's decades of systemic competitive excellence.
And on the logistics and construction side, there's nothing that compares to the Trolla gas platform tow.
In 1995, this thing, it's a natural gas platform in the North Sea. It weighed 683,600 tons and stood 472 meters tall.
Taller than the Eiffel Tower.
Much taller. It's the heaviest object ever moved by humans. And they towed it 200 kilometers across open sea. The precision engineering required to do that without it cracking or capsizing is just astounding.
And finally, we see that precision scaled right down to the individual level.
Finley Redford's record of 46 multicopter flips in 1 minute.
He smashed the old record of 15.
And he built the drone himself at home. It shows that superlative precision engineering and manual control are now accessible at the enthusiast level thanks to modern tech.
Let's shift our focus now to the future of all this, the kids zone detailed in the book. This chapter is all about young achievers who are setting the stage for the next generation. But more importantly, it shows the power of having a structured approach to learning.
These stories are so essential because they all emphasize the supportive systems behind the achievement. The coaching, the mentorship, the family structure, the dedicated hours. Superlative performance is always engineered. It's never an accident.
Take Arisa True, the skateboarder.
Trailblazer. She's the youngest X Games double gold medalist at just 13 years old, and her signature achievement was landing the 720.
2 full rotations in midair.
And she was the first female to ever land it in competition. That takes immense physical courage, precision, and just hours and hours of repetitive practice.
And she credits her coach.
She says she never would have landed it without him. And her advice is the perfect formula: determination, passion, and making sure you're having fun. It's structure and joy combined.
Then we have Cillian the Magician.
He was on Britain's Got Talent, went all the way to the final in 2023. And his story is so powerful.
Why is that?
His mission now is to inspire others. He visits schools and openly shares his journey with autism and magic. He's using his talent not just for entertainment, but for social advocacy. He shows that skill mastery can thrive alongside neurodivergence.
And then you have the incredible Rashed Al-Mary siblings from the UAE.
A trio of young authors. Saeed became the youngest male to publish a book at 4 years and 218 days old.
4 years old.
His sister, Al-Dabi, is the youngest person to publish a bilingual book series at age 8. And their sister, Al-Maha, became the youngest to publish a book series at just 3 years old.
But that just underscores the importance of early immersion and a supportive structure that values creativity.
It does. And another young record setter, Seemar, who created a video game, she said she was taking 4 coding lessons a week. Her success came from patient, structured learning. Her advice is spot on. If you want to start, just do it. If it's hard, don't worry. It's like riding a bike. Once you learn, you never forget.
So the practical lesson from all these young achievers is crystal clear.
Mentorship, structure, and early consistent exposure to complex skills. That's the launch pad for breaking boundaries. You can't achieve the superlative if you don't build the foundation first.
And this book doesn't just look forward. It also honors the past with its flashbacks concept. It traces how records have progressed over time.
Which is so important. It shows how the limits we accept today are constantly being redefined. Look at the record for the most expensive soccer player. That record was broken by small amounts for years. But in 2017, the goalposts were just moved entirely. Paris Saint-Germain bought Neymar for 222 million euros.
Doubling the previous record.
Exactly. It established a new financial boundary that still stands as an anomaly today.
And it's also fascinating to look at records of just sheer persistence from history. Judge Albert Alexander.
An amazing story. He retired from the courtroom in Missouri in 1965. He presided over hearings until he was 105 years old.
He was elected to the position when he was already 90.
It just shows that clarity of mind and dedication can sustain a career far beyond what we consider conventional.
And then there's the truly extreme endurance record as Angus Barbieri.
From Scotland, he lived only on tea, coffee, water, and prescribed vitamins for 379 days.
Over a year.
From June 1965 to July 1966, all under medical supervision. He went from 472 pounds down to a healthy 178 pounds. And critically, he maintained that loss until he died in 1990. It's a profound, if extreme, example of the body's ability to reset itself under rigorous guidance.
So this book, Guinness World Records 2025 in its 70th anniversary edition, it really is the ultimate reminder that boundaries are always shifting.
From the physical limits of an ultra runner to the cognitive edge of GPT-4, the limits we face are never final.
And the book really invites us to shift our own internal dialogue. It challenges us to stop thinking about what is just possible or acceptable.
And instead to ask, what is the absolute highest, fastest, or most impactful thing that you can do? The systems, the risks, the training models used by all these record breakers, they're all laid out here.
Ready for you to adapt them, to challenge your own assumptions about your personal limits.
Use the ideas in this book to enhance your own life. Translate these grand achievements into small, consistent, personal challenges.
This has been an incredible journey through human perseverance, engineering marvels, and the bizarre beauty of the natural world. All sourced from this monumental book, Guinness World Records 2025 by Guinness World Records.
We've covered everything from the 76 neck bones of a Jurassic dinosaur to the 4,100 diamonds on a bottle of tequila, and we really hope you feel better equipped to define and pursue your own peak goals using the framework of these superlative systems.
We want to thank you, the listener, for joining us on this expansive episode. If you want to dive deeper into these stories and discover hundreds more, we strongly encourage you to purchase the book. The stories inside are just essential fuel for ambition. And please engage with the author, Guinness World Records, on their social media platforms. You can see the newest records as they're being verified in real time. And please follow, subscribe, and share the Playing Books podcast to continue exploring the world's most fascinating source material with us.
And now, for a final provocative thought to leave you with. We mentioned earlier that Nanga Parbat, one of the fastest rising mountains in the world, grows by about 7 millimeters a year. That's due to the relentless collision of continental plates.
7 millimeters.
Now just consider how much only 7 millimeters of consistent, dedicated daily effort, whether that's mastering a difficult coding technique, studying a complex topic, or training a foundational skill, will change your personal landscape over the next 70 years. That sustained incremental effort, that tiny 7 millimeters of dedication, that's often the true overlooked secret to superlative achievement.